Hello everybody, my name is Michele Ambrosio and I work at EASA as a project certification manager in the large airplane department since 2018. Together with my colleague Claudio Caruso, we will talk today about the experience we have with remote test witnessing and in particular with Certification Memorandum 21AB001 and remote auditing. Before entering into the details of our experience and the details of the Certification Memorandum, some background. Even before the COVID crisis, there was an intention to develop guidance for remote witnessing. In general, there was the need of framing an activity which was already performed at project level but needed further guidance. The remote witnessing has undoubtful benefits of cost reduction, improvement of certification timelines, and the FAA published a similar policy statement on this topic back in 2020. Of course, the COVID-19 crisis accelerated all these aspects and led to the decision to develop EASA guidance for remote participation of tests and inspections. This was under the form of a certification memorandum which was published back in July 2020. Here in this slide, you can see how the document is structured. There is an introductory paragraph which details the scope of the document. Then we provide some background with the main advantages and limitations of remote witnessing. Afterwards, we enter into the core of the documents. Paragraph 3 details considerations which apply to all kinds of remote witnessing activities. It is divided into a general and an equipment setup section. Paragraph 4 is about remote witnessing when it is performed by EASA. So this is talked to cover complex and interesting tests where EASA is involved, where our experts are involved at project level. The specificities of the test are described in the certification plan and in the test plan and test report. We consider that when there is a repeated use of remote witnessing for a specific kind of test, this should be documented in the design organization procedure. Paragraph 5 is about remote witnessing when it is performed by applicants on their own. It is talked to cover non-complex tests where our experts are not involved at project level. We consider in these cases that design organization procedures have to be updated. The paragraph 6 and 7 provides respectively considerations about validation projects and cybersecurity. This slide shows the experience we have with remote witnessing over the past 2 years. As you can see from the charts, in 2020, only the cabin safety community was using the certification memorandum and the remote witnessing practice. They witnessed several kinds of tests, such as evacuation tests, ballistic penetration or ball impact tests, and cabin inspections, just to mention the more frequent ones. However, in 2021, this practice was extended to several other domains. The cabin safety colleagues remain the biggest user of this document. However, we also have experience now with structure, hydromechanical systems, avionics, and emissions. The picture on the right shows well how what happens in the test facility can be mirrored on the laptop of our experts. With remote witnessing, we encountered some issues, such as audio or video problems, connectivity issues, and in general, we miss what we call the look and feel aspect. However, our experts consider remote test witnessing in most of the cases as comparable to in-person witnessing. Now, what does a DOA should do if they want to perform remote witnessing? There is one main and easy question to be addressed. Is your remote participation activity intended to be recurrent for a specific kind of test or inspection? Then, if the answer is yes, you should have associated provision documented in the Design Organization Handbook detailing how you intend to perform the remote participation activity. Of course, the project level documentation should indicate that you intend to perform the remote participation activity and should refer to the relevant procedures. However, if the answer is no, then the project level documentation could reflect how you intend to perform the remote participation activity without necessarily having to update the Design Organization Handbook. I will leave now the floor to my colleague Claudio Caruso, who will talk about remote auditing. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Claudio Caruso, and I've been working for EASA as DOA team leader since 2018. I'm going to provide you with an overview of the internal policy on remote auditing that has been introduced in the DOA department since September 2020. COVID-19 pandemic situation has heavily impacted our ability to conduct on-site surveillance activities. So to ensure the continued viability of our oversight responsibilities, remote activities have become more and more used in the last 1.5 years, and several guidance have been developed in this area. In particular, in the DOA domain, the certification memorandum on remote witnessing just introduced by Michele has been issued, a dedicated F.A.Q on remote surveillance has been published on the EASA website, the internal policy on auditing methods that is part of this presentation has been issued, and finally, a new guidance material has been introduced in Part 21, providing technical guidance on the use of remote information and communication technologies to support not only the competent authorities when overseeing organization, but also the organizations when conducting internal audits and when evaluating vendors, suppliers, and subcontractors. The internal policy on auditing method is aimed to define general criteria to be used by the DOA team leader for determining the most suitable auditing method for DOA investigation or surveillance activities. The policy is mainly divided in 3 main sections. Section A includes an introduction and some generic information. Section B includes the criteria to be used for determining the most suitable auditing method using the traffic light system, and Section C includes detailed guidance for preparing and conducting a remote audit in form of F.A.Q. 3 possible scenarios have been identified. The red cases are those cases where on-site auditing is the expected approach, but a remote activity solution may be exceptionally authorized by the head of the DOA department based on a clear written justification prepared in consultation with the relevant team leader manager. Typical red cases are implementation audits for initial investigation or comprehensive significant change, or restoration audits following suspension or limitation of the scope. Amber cases are those cases where on-site auditing should be considered, and therefore an informal discussion with the relevant team leader manager should be planned. Typical cases are organizations having a high level of design activities, introducing novelties, having a negative relationship with EASA or low performance, or organization in the 3rd year of the surveillance cycle with no on-site audit yet conducted during the cycle, but also audit on some specific subject requiring a physical presence, such as flight test operation, record keeping involving physical records, inspection of test facility, and so on. Finally, green cases are the ones that are suitable for remote audit, and typical cases are audits in organization having a low level of design activities, positive relationship with EASA, good performance, and audits including subjects that do not require our physical presence. The F.A.Q section includes guidance for preparing and conducting remote audits. The main points addressed are how the DOA team leader should coordinate with the DOA holder the feasibility of performing a remote audit, how the remote audit should be prepared, considering the core processes and key subjects to be selected for the audit, the establishment of the audit team, preparation of the audit agenda, and availability and proper work of required IT and communication means. Then it is specified how the remote audit should be conducted, considering the points of attention and recommendation in conducting the opening meeting, recommendation regarding the IT tools to be used during the audit, identification and control of the person answering to a specific topic or question during the audit, and how to perform interviews and collect information and evidence review during the audit. Finally, it is specified how the remote audit should be conducted, the recommended approach for summarizing the audit conclusion and to conduct the closure meeting, and the specific points of attention to be taken into consideration during the closure meeting. In this last slide, you can find an overview of the surveillance activities performed by the DOA department pre-COVID times and after the policy has been introduced. As you can see, the overall level of activities is comparable. However, in the last year, the number of remote activities has significantly increased and has become comparable with the on-site ones, while in the past years, the remote activities represented just 10% of the surveillance activities performed. Thanks for your attention.